Welcome to Blessed Beyond Measure, where we gather as sisters to learn and grow in God's truth. I pray that when you step away from this video, you'll feel blessed beyond measure and freshly aware that His mercies are new every morning. Today I'm sitting with my best friend Alisha, and we are just going to be having a conversation as friends, and we are inviting you to join us in this conversation, not to glorify the dark times that she has had to walk through, but to glorify the mighty God who has brought her through it.
Yes.
So,
yes, ma'am.
it's
Without the
pretty
grace of
amazing.
God, I would not be sitting here. That
love
is a
it.
fact.
I love it. Well, for starters, how are you feeling today?
Oh, well, my best friend came over and she brought me sweet tea and snacks. So, feeling really good, actually. Feeling really good.
Excellent. Well, before things kind of went down a darker path in your life, what was your childhood like? What were things like before that?
So, I was born in Florida and we moved, I guess I was like 8 when we moved from Florida. And this town had like 2 stop signs, 1 red light. Never seen snow a day in my life, and it was like to my hips when we got there as a Florida baby. But I will say something beautiful that came out of that. We had a church that wasn't too far from our house, and there was a new couple that was pastoring the church, and they came by and were passing out flyers, like asking people to, come to Vacation Bible School. And that became our safe place. Like me and my sister and my brother, that was always Sunday, Wednesday, Friday, anytime the doors were open, especially Vacation Bible School, because they had good snacks. So, that became like the biggest part of our life. My mom worked 2 jobs, and my brother's dad was, he was there for the most part, but it was kind of a toxic kind of fighting situation with them. So Mom moved out, and it just was her and us. So it was, I was the oldest, and there was a lot that had to be done. Mom was working 2 jobs. So at like 9 and 10 years old, I was already watching other people's kids.
Wow.
So it was definitely I went from being a kid to like having a whole lot of responsibility all at one time, which I wouldn't change it now. Then I was kind of like, what? I have to do what? But now that I'm grown and I'm like, oh, I needed all of those things. Like I needed those life skills. I needed all the things that I was doing. It was just a lot. I was 10 years old and I was playing little mom,
Yeah.
And to this day, my mom still can't forgive herself for that, honestly. And I don't even understand it because, like, I pay my own bills. I didn't have a job. I do all the things that you raised me to know how to do, and I watched her work 2 jobs. So
at that time when you were watching these other kids, were you watching them and helping pay the bills, or were you just like you just needed to help other people with their kids?
At that point, it was more of a like I wanted a job. Like I wanted some money. I was already watching my brother and sister. Why can't I
make a little
watch the neighbors' 2 kids down the street, and they're going to pay me $20 a night, to watch them. Which at 10 and 11 years old, I was like, I can do big girl things. But the house was like 3 houses down from my house. So I wasn't like going across town or anything, like I 3 houses down and then 3 houses back. But at 10 years old, you're like, whoa, like I have a job.
I love it.
Yeah. And then I was, like 14 when I got my first actual job. And I was like, Lord, I would give anything just to go back to babysitting. Nobody wants to work on their feet all day.
So where was your first actual job?
Pizza Hut.
Okay.
In Athens, waiting tables.
Okay.
Yeah. And I did have to have a special permit for the Board of Education for that. But, and at that point, like, things had progressed with my mother. So at that point, I was, in fact, like working to help pay bills.
Okay.
She was a single mom who also was caught in the grips of addiction. So, I started seeing little things like that coming into play probably my sophomore and junior years in high school. It was really bad. I couldn't understand, like, why are you working 2 jobs and we don't have water? You know what I mean? Like, the water was getting cut off.
Where the money was going.
No, like, I was so confused, and I was making $2.15 an hour, waiting tables, paying the water bill so we could, shower and clothes and all the things. But at that point, I didn't actually understand what, like, the disease of addiction is and what it does to you and what it looks like, because we didn't know. Like, my mom always worked 2 jobs, always. And by the time we got back to Alabama, and I realized, like, wait a minute, because she told us, like, I'm making ever how many dollars an hour it was, and I was so confused. Like, how do we not have water? Then I grew up, and I was like,
figured it out.
That's why we didn't have water, But she did a really, I say, good job of hiding that from us, because it just was always so, like, that was normal in our house, all the things. Of course, now that I'm grown and I look back on it and I was thinking, that makes sense, and that makes sense, and that makes sense. Now that I know what I'm looking for because I've walked through it.
But she wasn't, like, cruel because of her.
No, kind of more of a she was never, like, downright mean. She was very stern, and her fuse was very short. But I mean, she walked to work every day, 2 jobs, and took care of 3 kids for the majority of our adolescent and teen years by herself.
Wow.
So I can only imagine at this point what that was like, because when I was doing it by myself, my kids were little. Not so little that I had to wipe their butts anymore, but little enough that I still had to do all the things for them. So I can't imagine.
And so it's a big chore. So you started working early. You had to develop this independence in a sense, and taking care of your siblings, which a lot of people would see really as pretty common for that day and age. The whole latchkey kid type of thing. I think it's less common these days. It still happens, but not as common in today's world, mostly because people are afraid to leave their kids, without them. But I think it was at least presumed to be more safe back then.
Oh, well, and it was a different world.
It
was a completely different world. Now, when I come in my home, before I go to sleep or before the even sun is down good, I'm making sure my doors are locked.
Yep. Yeah.
I'm not, just because of things that have happened, not even necessarily just to me, but to people who are close to me, that put that, like, maybe you should just lock your doors just to be safe,
Yeah.
I can't even tell you one time when I was getting off the bus as a kid in Illinois where I had to use the key to open my door. We just went in, even if our parents weren't home, and 99% of the time, Mom wasn't home, and Steve didn't get home till like 5 o'clock. So we come home and there's 3 snacks on the kitchen table. Mom's already got it laid out where she came from her first job home to make sure we had snacks. And then went to her second job. So there was a lot of things about it that seemed like rushed and very full of friction. But now that I look back on it, I'm so grateful for the days when I, like, all the things that she was like, okay, well, you need to do this, you need to do that, made sure we did the dishes, made sure we put the food up, all the things that she lovingly had us doing, that I was like, oh, don't want to do that.
Do you think it's that as an adult you have experienced people who weren't made to do those things, and you see where their life, because I know that was very eye-opening for me when I started meeting people who weren't made to do those things. And then I saw not only were they not made to do them, but like they couldn't.
They didn't have, they didn't even know how.
Yeah, they people who are not brought up to work in the home often don't know how to work out of the home either. And so
that's what I tell her all the time, because, and I know that this woman still carries something with her, and not in a good way, that, I don't know, I feel like she thinks that she failed us. But when I look around me, yeah, okay, I made some really poor decisions. I did. And I mostly made those decisions out of anger and emotion. It was never, oh, my mom taught me this, that's what I'm going to do. It honestly was kind of counterproductive to what she was telling me. Honestly, all the decisions that led my life to a place where I pray to God I never go again, was always like, this is what mom told me, this is what I did. That went the other way.
Yeah.
So now that I know, like, all the things that she was teaching me were for me, now I'm trying to tell her, like, hey, by the way, no, you were right. You did the right thing. You were right. You're never going to hear that again out of another kid's mouth, so you might want to hear it. That's real. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the fact that she and my grandmother both taught us how to cook, how to fold a towel properly. Get married. Don't have a man that doesn't know how to fold a towel. Okay. You'll spend 10 days just refolding all of their stuff. So I'm grateful. Now, when it was happening, not gratitude. Right. Not what you saw coming off of my face. But praise God, he doesn't leave us where he started.
Right.
And now to this day, I feel like I'm doing some of the things that she said to me to her. It's crazy how that works. Like, it's a whole circle that comes back around. She was like, well, you sound like I did. Can't imagine why. Can't imagine why.
I had a good example.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Well, so you've mentioned your mom. Where was your dad during this section of your life?
So my mom was really young when she had me, like 16 going on 17. And from what I understand, and I remember hearing his voice, like, with my nanny when we went to visit her for the summer in Florida. He just didn't, I guess he just didn't want to be a dad. Like, I don't know. My mom saw the things that he was wrapped up in after I was born and took me and my sister, and she ran as far away as she could. And, you know, as a kid, especially a little girl, and you grow up and you see all these other kids with their moms and their dads and their families and, you know, all the things. And I always wondered, like, what is wrong with me? What's wrong with me that he doesn't want to be a part of my life, you know? And for so many years, it literally took until I was 22, almost 22, before my grandmother would even tell me my dad's last name.
Wow.
But I heard his voice and I knew his voice from being a little, like, tiny girl. Wow. And when I actually, like, reconnected with him as a grown woman, he took me to his mom's house, which was, if this is my great grandfather's house, we got 1 lot, 2 lots, and then a stop sign with a road. And it was right.
Wow.
We weren't even a mile apart. Wow. None of his family, all the summers that we spent there, never even tried.
That's hard.
But as a 20-something-year-old woman, when I reached out, I finally found him, and he came to Florida, and I met him, like, face to face. and he took me to his mom's house. And I turned around on the bar stool, and my Aunt Sonia looked me in my face, and she said, "Oh my God, you're Kathy's daughter."
Oh, wow.
And I knew right then, like it hadn't been just nothing or all of it. There was a gray area there, because I was a grown woman. You're telling me you know my mom, but you don't know me? No, they knew who I was. They knew who I was. And now my dad passed like 3 days before Christmas last year. And I actually got to spend an incredible week with my aunts.
I love that.
And all the things that I ever wanted from him that I didn't understand why I didn't get. I feel like the Lord gave me that time to show me that I always had a good father. I just didn't know it. But that also the people that he gave me on earth as my family are human too. And he healed some of the deepest wounds that I had during that time. I didn't think was even possible. But he did. And now all the questions and resentment that I had, at least regarding Wayne, have started to be healed inside of me, because you can't give something you don't have, and you can't teach something you don't know. And God opened my eyes to a lot of things while I was there.
So do you feel like he didn't have love to give? He wasn't loved himself, or at least he didn't know
love
he was
himself.
loved. He didn't love himself.
He didn't love himself. And on both sides of my family, deeper than I even knew, until, I had my own battle with addiction. I didn't know how deep the enemy had his claws in both sides of my family, and still does to some degree. And now I'm on the other side of it. When I got to Florida, I fully expected it to be like just hard and tumultuous.
Right.
And like for that much of it, it was. But for the most part, God opened my eyes to the things that are lacking. And it's not so much the things that are there that aren't supposed to be, but all the things that are supposed to be there that are not. Because once you put all these things back in, that, we ourselves weed out of us by choosing every time to go the opposite way of the way God has called us to live or go or do, it just creates a bigger void and a bigger void and a bigger void. So it doesn't matter so much what you're putting in, except for what you took out.
When sometimes we're not willing to accept the love that God has for us, because we have put up these walls, these barriers where we're like, I don't deserve it, therefore I can't accept it. I hear you telling me that Jesus died on the cross for my sins, but I don't deserve that, therefore I might believe that he did it, but I can't accept it as being for me.
Because how often do we say, yes, okay, that works for you?
Mm-hmm.
Or, yes, that's good for you. Yeah. You don't know what I've done.
Yep.
You don't know where I've been. But I feel like all too often we pass by the fact that his grace is sufficient.
Amen to that.
And he's not a respecter of persons. For a long time, I thought, there's no way that a God that is that good
could put up with me
right. And or love me after everything. Like I spent not intentionally, like thoughtfully, I'm gonna harm myself.
Mm-hmm.
Never like suicidal to the point of like making a plan, sticking to it,
Mm-hmm.
trying to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But I was living like hell, girl. I was.
And so when did that start?
We left as a grown-up. I went back to Florida. My grandmother guilt tripped me into moving back to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Bad choice. Very bad choice. But we were there probably right at a year and a half.
And this was your mom and
my mother's
mom?
My mom, my mother's mother,
mm-hmm.
my husband, and my 3 children at the time.
Okay.
Our 3 children at the time. And everything in my body, Jennifer, everything in my body was screaming, do not go. Do not go to Florida. And I almost backed out. But my grandmother was my other parent. Like my nanny it was mom and nanny.
Mm-hmm.
There was no mom and dad. It was mom, nanny.
Mm-hmm.
Those were my parents. And there wasn't a whole lot nanny ever asked of me that I didn't do. Sometimes when I'm sitting by myself, I think, had I just only not, or only done.
And so
I chose what I chose. When we moved to Florida, it wasn't a year later
that you were in the grips of addiction.
So, that's where it started. That's where the it started. So,
now, had you ever done drugs before that?
Alcohol.
Okay.
Smoked a joint like twice in my life. But I took my husband to Florida with me. In fact, I wasn't leaving without him. Mm-hmm. It was like, no, if he doesn't go, I'm not going. But he had led a very different life. So his mom died when he was 17, and it started before then with him, except that when she died, all the control left. He just kind of threw his hands up and said, screw it, So he had a little bit more experience with that kind of thing. But it all came to a head when grandmother wasn't very good at like boundaries. So when I said, okay, they're getting too big, like I want them sleeping in their room. The twins, especially because they were the oldest, I'd come out every morning, and here they are in the bed with Nanny, and I'm like, so I walk in from work one day, and I see her pulling my son's pants up real quick, and I was like, oh no. Excuse me. And for a moment, I was like, what is that? First of all, like, because I opened my front door, and that's what I'm
here? Yeah.
Okay, maybe there's some logical explanation, because this is my nanny.
Right.
Okay. Long story short, she moved out, and about a week later, my mom came and got the kids for the weekend. And that was the beginning. That was the beginning of like the next 2 years of my life being just absolutely, I lived in anywhere. Like I slept in an overpass or a parking garage or wherever I could go, just to be out of the elements. Yeah.
So, with do you think that there was an element of like shame for you where you felt guilty for what she had chosen to do, or is that
Partly,
what drove
and then
that?
I started having flashbacks. And when somebody's your hero, you don't want to believe that.
Right. Oh,
But I know now that hurt people hurt people.
that's very true. It doesn't excuse,
No.
what they do, but
it made me wonder, like, how? And then, by the grace of God, he allowed me to stay alive. Because there are a lot of people who walk the road that I walked that did not get to stay alive. And I did some like intentional, hard, very hard, not fun, not fun work. And while it doesn't excuse the behavior, I also know now that that also doesn't reflect on me.
right.
Because for a long time I carried that like something I did. Or even like it was part of who I was,
Mm-hmm.
It's not.
No.
It's not who I am.
And we can't control what are other people's choices.
Mm-mm.
And especially, where family is concerned, we have a built-in trust. And so the fact that you trusted until you knew, that's what we do with our loved ones. We trust them until they give us a reason not to.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so sad, though, that broken trust.
It led to so many other like things I didn't even realize that I was carrying around. And so many of those things, like before I went to treatment and was in a house with 15 other women.
Goodness.
It was wonderful.
That's a lot of emotion.
Oh, girl. Girl, yes. And I was there like 2.5 months longer than I needed to be because we didn't have a director. So God was like, oh, you want to hurry up and get out of here? No, baby, you're going to sit. I got somebody's I need you to talk to. And honestly, Jennifer, like those last 2 months, I met some, even to this day, that I still have relationships with these women. And so many beautiful stories that God has created just from those 2 months I wasn't supposed to be there. God had a different plan. And now on the other side of it, I look back and yeah, I was awful. There was a lot of things that I would not do again if given the choice.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also like painfully aware that God uses all of those I didn't mean to, wasn't going to do, and didn't intend for it to be this way into making our testimony. And even if all the things that I've walked through, whether it was self-inflicted or otherwise, because really that's irrelevant. God will use everything.
Absolutely.
Even the ugly cries and the, all the things that we don't want anybody to be privy to. I have learned by being given the same things that people wanted to hold close to their chest and didn't want anybody to know because I'm the only one.
Yeah.
I got to be a recipient of some of those little nuggets of hope. And it gave me the courage to be able to say, hey, I know where you are. I've been there. And look what God has brought me through and to. And that doesn't mean it's all sunshine and rainbows by any means. But if I know if I have been given hope from somebody being bold enough to say the truth, even if it's ugly, especially if it's ugly, then God will 100% use all of the ugly things that have happened to and because of me. I'm not a saint by any means. I did some things that I'm not proud of, and not to glorify them, but to say, hey, yes, this was not a good time for me. No, I'm not proud of this. But here's what God did with it anyway.
So how did you get from sleeping under bridges to being in a home with these other 15 ladies?
So when I left Florida, a really sweet lady stopped and picked me up. Thankfully, I already knew her, so I didn't have to worry about stranger danger. But she took me back to her house in Canton, Georgia, and helped me raise the money to get a bus ticket back to Alabama, where I had several people who were more than willing to help me get where I needed to go and do the things I needed to do. And I found a income-based treatment facility. And if I'm being completely honest, the only reason that I went into a house with 15 women, no caffeine and no sugar, was because I wanted to get off probation.
Okay.
I wanted to get off probation and I didn't want to have anything on my record, which as of right now, I have no drug charges. And it was a stupid paraphernalia charge anyway. Like it was a misdemeanor, but I didn't want it on my record. So, and to be quite frank, I needed to do the work. Like there was so much trauma, even though I was clean, because I was clean when I got there, had been clean for about 6 months. But all the things that kept me going back to getting high, all of the trauma and the wounds that I hadn't even looked at, much less addressed. Yeah, I was clean, but there was no way I was going to stay that way because I didn't have any tools. I didn't know what to do. I wasn't healed. I didn't have any help. I didn't have any women. I didn't have anything. And that's honestly what that place gave me.
Okay.
I almost turned around and left when they told me I couldn't have my Bible. I did almost leave. Once we got past, we were able to go to church and do all the things, and my counselor explained it to me and it made it sting a little less. Like they had women who were kind of pushing it down other women's throats, and it had become a problem because there were women from all walks of life and all faith denominations. So as a state funded place, they just can't do that. But I will say, even without like my Bible, God still showed up. Girl, he showed up. And we had people like women that would come from some of the churches, like the local churches, and get us every other Wednesday night for prayer partners. I actually still have a pillowcase that one of them made me. And these women were so incredible. Like, honestly, prayed for you.
I love it.
Even when you weren't in the room, like that was what a prayer partner was for.
That is fantastic, right? Because there's so many people that will say, I'll pray for you. And, really what they mean is I'll think about you from time to time. But thinking about somebody does absolutely no good. No. Praying moves mountains.
And these women did.
Oh, I love it.
These women did. And when I tell you, they didn't just pray for us, they fed us like pigs going to the slaughterhouse every other Wednesday. Okay. The whole spread of food. Like you left there knowing that you were loved by God and by these women without a doubt.
I love that.
And that was part of the things, even after I graduated, like I would go back sometimes and just be a part of their meeting, because they always told us, when you girls get out of here, come back and join us. Come back and join us. And those women, 100%, 100% incredible. And I really, honestly, I attribute all of the things that I learned and all the ways that I grew in that time to nothing but the power and grace of God. Because, you know, just as well as I do, in and of ourselves, we're selfish. This is selfish.
Yeah.
When you have the Holy Spirit, it is evident.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning of what, even though I had been clean, like that's what started the changing of my life.
And so you had gotten saved at Vacation Bible School, or the church where you had Vacation Bible School, but there hadn't really been an inward change that resulted in any kind of real fruit as a result of that, right?
No, because when my mom divorced my stepdad, the new Pastor Reese and his family had gone and become missionaries, and we had this new young couple. And my mom was divorcing Steve, my brother's dad. He was abusive. I can't even tell you how many times I laid there and listened to them fight. And the last time, the straw that broke the camel's back, was actually on their anniversary. He went with one of his friends and she went with one of hers, which seemed like, even at like 10 years old, I was like, wait,
it seemed odd.
I thought this was their anniversary. Maybe not. No, that was when Mom was like, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. He like almost broke her arm. It was bad. It was really bad. But they asked us not to come back to church because divorce was an abomination in the eyes of God.
Oh, wow.
So that was kind of what did a split, because after that we moved from Illinois, and my mom was like, I'm not sending my babies back to any church that I'm not going to check out.
Right.
And she didn't for a long time. Like it got to a point where I had to be like, okay, Mom, I want to go do this, and this. She wasn't just gonna let us go to some church by ourselves, because at that point, now she's like, well,
it didn't
what am I supposed to do? Because at this point, now I'm a divorced woman with 3 kids. So how is the next church gonna look at me?
Yeah. When we talk about church hurt, right? That's exactly the kind of stuff that we're talking about, and that the church is supposed to be an anchor of love. And it doesn't mean that the church is supposed to condone every choice that we make. You know, if there was just some, you know, I don't feel like getting along with my spouse anymore, I'm not in love with them, I'm going to divorce them, then absolutely the church should step in and they should say, hey, you know, this is wrong. You need to consider what you're doing. But it sounds like they didn't even love enough to bother to find out, you know,
they didn't
hey,
even
what's
know
going
us.
on? How can we help you? And then even if they fully disagreed with the choice to divorce, it's still so odd to then say, don't come back. Almost like God's not able to redeem you from that particular sin.
Yeah.
Seems like it was their approach, and that's so odd to me.
Well, and as a young girl who, like, legitimately, that was our safe place. We went calling on Saturdays with Mrs. Brewer. We became some of those kids that were passing out, knocking on doors, asking people to come to church with us, you know. But to go from like that, because there were so many. I remember there was this little lady. She was probably 90. She was so sweet, but so old. And
you know, when you're a kid,
white hair, like she was the most precious thing, like, in the entire world. She disagreed so much so with the way that pastor handled things that she came and knocked on our door.
Wow.
And just wanted to let us know, we love you. That's not what God thinks.
That's good.
And I don't know if I'm going to go back to that church.
Wow. Well, at least that's good that
Yes.
the congregation didn't just necessarily follow
That little
along
lady was not fixing to be swayed.
Sounds
You were
like
not.
she actually knew her Bible.
Mm-hmm. And actually, like,
yes,
in her heart knew it,
I love that.
Yeah, but that was, I think, what started the split in my life. And I'm going to be honest, like, as far as regular, consistent going to church did not happen again until I moved to Coleman County.
Took a lot of years to overcome that.
Well, and there comes a certain point when you have gotten so far out of the habit of doing these things that it's like, I don't even know where to begin. Start doing those things again. And my bosses at the time had lived here lots of years, one of them most of his life. And he recommended a good church. And then I met my best friend there, which helped. It helped because, just as well as I do, when you're going into something that's different, especially wearing all of the labels and the things that the world puts on us, it can be really intimidating.
It can.
Going into a new place, especially a place of worship where you're already, or at least I don't know about anybody else, I already felt inadequate to even be there, much less like talk to somebody that I didn't know. Like, what?
Well, and this was a larger church too.
Yes.
Which makes it even more intimidating.
Because the church that I grew up in was like this big, wall to wall. It was small. So coming here, being invited and going and doing all of these things, it almost felt like another world to me, honestly, from, an early adult, like 13, 14 was the last time that I honestly even went to a church. Vacation Bible school, maybe if somebody invited me and I could get away from there if I needed to. You know what I mean? Like, that's just where my mindset was then.
Yeah.
And then when I got here, I realized after God sat me down and was like, hey, I love you. We're not doing this. And I didn't have internet. I didn't have a phone. I didn't have a TV. I had my Bible. And I had an apartment. That's what I had. And God started little by little, like, showing me and reminding me with me being faithful just every day. I couldn't even keep a whole routine. I would get up, I would turn on my praise and worship music while I got myself dressed and ready. And then I had 30 minutes where I sat down and I opened my Bible, not because I didn't have a phone. All I had was my Bible.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is where he started really, like, drawing me back and drawing me back and drawing me back to him, so that even when something that I couldn't see coming or something that would almost knock me off my feet normally was about to come, like, he already had people in place and things in place so that I didn't have to go all the way back.
Yeah.
The way I went, because until this point I didn't have people that I could count on, like, and yeah, it's all good to have the knowledge of the things and the tools that you need to use and do. It's really, really hard when you don't have somebody to remind you, because how often do we get all worked up and can't even think straight because of all the crap
Yes.
being pushed into our heads?
Oh gosh,
That's
the
not even
enemy will
real.
sit and whisper those
Yes.
things that
And it sounds real good.
it does. And often we can't distinguish between what is our thoughts and what is the enemy. And so we mistake his voice for our own thoughts. And then that becomes, well, I even know this about myself. And we're just not putting our finger on the fact that it's not us that knows. It is the enemy trying to lie to us, because that's what he does best, right? So was a lot of times we hear about people hitting rock bottom, and then that's what causes them to reach out to God. Do you feel like there was a place where that happened for you, or that you kind of, even in the midst of the struggles, you kept some faith?
Yes. I feel like even through all of it, like there were times when, you can't even have a thought except, how do I survive the next 24 hours? And then it transitioned into okay, I can breathe. I'm inside. And there were moments that I can remember this just overwhelming peace that I didn't even understand. Reminding me, you're not alone. Even when I felt so alone. And you are so loved, even when I did not feel lovable. But he kept me in such a way that only by the grace of God do I not have any actual, take you out of this world diseases, because that was a very real possibility with the life I was living. And I have most of my mental faculties about me, which not all people get out of this life with. And from the time I was a very, very, very little girl, my nanny, even though she didn't go with us, she would put us on the church bus and send us to church, so that I know without a doubt, once you are God's child, there is not anything, nothing
Can snatch you
that can take you out of his hands.
Amen to that.
So for that, I am so incredibly grateful that my nanny knew enough to send us, because I'm just telling you, I'm glad I was already in his hands. I'm glad I was already in his hands. There have been so many times when, even in the midst of it, I would have moments of clarity like, oh God, what am I doing? What am I doing? I cannot, I need you. I cannot get out of this mess by myself. And he's so faithful that even when we are living like hell,
he still loves us.
Here I am. I'm still here.
I love that, because it's easy to hear testimonies of people who have walked through similar things, and to hear them say, and then I got to the end of it and I realized God had loved me that whole time. But not to really relate that God didn't just love you from a distance that whole time. He was there with you in every moment. And while he was not forcing you to make good or wise decisions, that never caused him to abandon you in
or
the
love
midst
me
of
any
it.
less.
Isn't he amazing?
So incredible. And it took me a long, long time to be able to wrap my head around the love of a father.
I could imagine how that would be even more difficult growing up without your dad in your life. Yeah.
Like a love that we cannot even understand. the best way we know how to love our kids and our family doesn't even scratch the surface. That blows my mind.
Right? Absolutely.
That blows my mind. Even now.
Man.
Yeah. Like, I can look back on all of the things, like all the ways, at least all the things that I can remember, because I'll have memories that come to my head. I'm like, oh, I forgot about that. Like, I completely forgot about that. But it doesn't come back in a way that's like, it's almost like a, hey, baby, just so you know, you haven't worked on that yet.
Yeah.
And God's gentle, like he's gentle. So I know that when I hear the, well, you didn't, you shoulda, you coulda,
that it's
I know
God's
that's
voice.
not my God. I know that's not him.
I love that.
Because he doesn't condemn us. And for a long time, that I did not understand. Didn't understand, didn't know the difference.
Yep.
Now that I've done more studying and more intentional effort has been applied to not just like the relationships that I currently hold, but also more importantly, the relationship that I have with God and the time that I spend in his word. I have realized, like, for so long, the enemy had me fooled. He did. But we can't fight the lies with the truth if we don't know what the truth is to fight that lie.
Yes. So the more we get, this song came up the other day when I was talking to someone, but I would bring it up again. It's a new song way back in, I think it was like 84.
Okay.
They were more like a almost like a Christian country band back then. And they had a song called The Word. And one of the lines is, the more you get in the Word, the more it gets into you. And it's
Girl,
so valid,
that's
because
so true.
when the enemy is lying to us, if we have none of the truth to refute that with, then all we can do is hear the lies. And even if at first we're like, that's not true, that's not true. If they say it, if he says it enough, we start to believe it. And yet, when we know the truth, because we have spent time not just in the Word of God, but with God, and we have let Holy Spirit have a relationship with us and speak to us, and we have listened as he speaks, then when the enemy comes whispering his lies, we're able to pinpoint them and not just say, no, that's not true, but say, let me tell you what the truth is.
Yes.
Because that's a load of crap.
Woo, yes, girl. Yes, ma'am. Yes, but I did not have those tools. I did not have that information. And I still don't have all the answers, and I still don't have all the information, but I also know that as long as I keep surrounding myself with the people that God has given me, who can come alongside me and who I can come alongside and I can call and be like, hey, this is what I'm hearing and thinking. Please help me.
Yep.
Because we're not always going to have everything we need. Sometimes we're going to have to call somebody. And I thank God every day. I thank God every day for the women that he has given me in my life, because
it's beautiful, isn't it?
6 years ago, I did not have that. I didn't have community. I didn't have good, godly women to come alongside me and for me to come alongside, because we all need each other.
Yes.
I did not need anybody. I don't need anybody. I can do this myself. No.
God has a way of gently letting us reveal to ourselves, even.
Yeah, or not so gently.
Because sometimes he can just be like, okay, you've got it handled. I'm just going to step back for a minute. And wow, do we make a mess of things.
And girl, don't we know when God takes his hand off it just for a moment? At least I do, because it's like a tsunami came through. But he's a gentleman. He is not going to make you do anything. I have a hard head. Very hard So glad God is patient. So glad that he doesn't do like I do. And I'm like, oh, I'm sick of your crap. Sick of your crap. Go.
I get sick of myself sometimes, and then I'm
That's
like,
what
Lord,
I'm
how do you put
saying.
up
Like,
with me?
I don't even understand. Like, this was me. You'd be in the corner with your
Right?
nose in the wall. Good grief. I can be so just like, I'm going to do that. And you know what? He's always been so faithful not to like just let me fall all the way on my butt. He will let me feel the consequences of my choices, which I'm grateful for now. Not so much at the time. Even now, because I'll do something or say something thinking, oh, okay, yeah, that's all well and good, and should have just kept my mouth shut. You know what I mean? So even clean, I can make bad choices, say the wrong thing. Yeah.
It's easy to do.
Yes, and it's not like when you stop using or have a decade clean that everything just magically like, oh, it's better. No, because the things that were the problem then aren't necessarily going to be the problem now, but life's still life's.
Yeah.
And it's really easy to, if we're not vigilant and we don't continue to do the things that got us and helped us stay clean, it doesn't care if you've been clean for 20 years.
And a word of the modern age is triggers, right? And so I would imagine that there's, in my own life, there's all kinds of triggers, and I have not walked through the struggle of addiction. And so I imagine when you're dealing with recovery and staying in recovery, that there's plenty of things that work as triggers.
Plenty. But what I have learned is that as much and as often as I allow things to bother me, they will. But I've also been given a new perspective, and it's getting better every day. Even now, it's still growing. The things that used to be like so important, and oh, you're not going to say that to me, you're not going to do that to me, you're not going to say this or that or whatever. God has slowly started to heal my mind and my body so that not all the things that used to make me want to like your eyeballs out, now it's just like, I know you're entitled to your opinion, and I also know that what we're fighting against, it's not flesh and blood. So even now as I'm walking through the things that I'm walking through, with a man that I spent almost 18 years of my life with, 10 years ago, if the things that had transpired over the last 6 months happened then, I'd have been right back out there, there wouldn't have been nothing that could have stopped me. And now my life is so different and so much better, even on the worst days. And there have been some worst days here lately. So much better. Like, to go from, like, when I see it in my mind, it's like a black hole, but you can almost see it like restricting around you. At least when I close my eyes, that's what I see. And now to have a life that I could never even have dreamed of, I know that's God. Like, there's no other explanation. It 100% is God. And even through all the things, I am still so grateful to be sitting in my house with most of my mental faculties. Okay. And no, like, just completely debilitating physical, because I've met people even since I've been clean who've never, ever struggled with addiction and who are in much worse physical conditions than I am in. So I know that's the grace of God. I know it is. There's no other way. Like, I don't have just some great, good gene, like, it's the grace of God. It 100% is the grace of God. So for that, I will forever be grateful.
I love that.
Forever.
So we've talked about you reaching a place where you were, living under bridges and, barely make it. We've talked about you coming into a recovery program and how your life has changed now. And so, initially when you moved down to Florida, you had the husband and the kids with you. And then by the time that we were talking about the bridge, it seemed like you were alone at that stage.
I was.
So what happened to everybody else?
My mom got custody of our children, and my husband decided that he wanted to continue doing what he was doing with other women. So, as opposed to end up in jail or hell, I told him hell or jail. I gotta go. And for like 8 years, we didn't even live in the same state for 6 of those years. My mom got custody of the kids, and I got out of Florida, got to Georgia, and then got back to Alabama and got clean. And I get a phone call from Florida, and I'm like, that's weird, because my mom at this point, even though I was clean, she rarely answered the phone to let me talk to the kids or like anything. She had lost custody of the children. So I personally called. Now, Nathaniel was in Florida, still getting high at this point. I had been clean for like almost 2 years.
Okay.
Year and a half, where I'd actually not been in this place or that place. Like, I was clean. And did all the things. Like, when I tell you that I went to hours a week of anger management, parenting classes, finance classes, all the things. Drug tests every week, like all the things that the court in Florida required of me to do. And I got there. I had a friend from Georgia, because I didn't have a car at the time, come and take me to Florida for court. And I had a whole, like, it was almost a whole box full of crap that I brought with me for them to, like, okay, surely this is enough. I've done everything they've asked me to do.
Right.
And from the moment that my mom lost custody to the day of our court date was not even 9 whole months.
Okay.
And when I got in front of the judge, she simply looked me in my face and said, "Why should I give them to you?" I told her, "I'm their mom. Like, I'm clean. I did all the things that you asked me to do." Well, they're flourishing where they are, and it's too little too late. Wow. Turned me around. Wouldn't even let me speak to him. Oh, wow. I watched him walk up.
Wow. That is heartbreaking.
But God, the woman that adopted him, and I found out many years later that the state of Florida gets $10,000 for every kid they adopt out. The woman that legally adopted them reached out like 2.5 years later, roughly, and flooded my Facebook Messenger with pictures also a God shot because you and I both know that in and of ourselves, we are selfish. We do not care what anybody else needs. This woman reached out and sent me so many pictures of my kids. And the twins just turned 18, actually, on April the 1st. Oh, girl, I know. 18-year-old kids, like, what?
Makes you feel old.
Freaking old lady. My oldest. 18.
Oh, wow.
And as fate would have it, my oldest boy and my youngest boy are the two that were with Alexandra for the weekend, or for the week. And she messaged me and she was like, "Hey, are you home? Is there any way that you have time for a phone call?" And I was like, "Oh no, yeah, like what's wrong?" She's like, "No, the kids wanted to talk to you." And I was like,
then yes.
Yes. I don't care what time it is. Whatever time it is. Just yes. And when Kobe opened his mouth, I was like, "How old are you?"
His voice changed a little, huh?
Hey. I was like, "Dude, you sound like a grown man."
I love it.
He wasn't even 18 then. Like, good grief. 6'2". Wow. Like, oh my goodness gracious. And the baby, like, you would think, so totally opposite. Soft spoken, very sweet, like, so cute. I hate to even say that he looks like his daddy, but he does. Dadgummit. He got my nose.
They never look like us. We carry them for 9 months.
9
they
months.
Never look like
heartburn,
us.
all the things. Swollen feet. Can't wash my hair. Sure, look like your dad. But cutie. Such a freaking cutie. And actually, let me backtrack just a little bit. When I was in treatment, and I thought this was like the craziest thing I had ever heard in my life. Like, you want me to pray for the people who have hurt me? And you want me to pray for all the things that I want for me for them? Okay. She was like, even if you don't mean it, do it. All right. So the first couple of days, I was just like, "Lord, bless her, help me." That was all I could do. That was literally all I could do. But by the end of it, I realized that God was doing something in me. And I meant it. And then he just blessed my socks off for being faithful.
I love that.
And even now to this day, she and I have open lines of communication. I get pictures, which is more than they even had to do. Like, she didn't have to do anything. But I got to see their lives progress and grow. And even when Kobe got his butt into some trouble, because he did, hanging out with the wrong kids. I mean, even that, like, all the things that I was missing out on, and all the things that most parents would be like, "Oh God, why did you tell me that?" Like, those kind of things that I would never have had without her.
But God
being willing. Person. Yes, ma'am. And I didn't understand it all those years ago, but I was sitting on the bench outside the courtroom, and I saw him start walking my way, and I was like, "Oh my God, those are my babies." And it's like the Holy Spirit just, and I couldn't even get words out. I didn't understand it then, but now I know that God put those children with those people on purpose because they were all together, Jennifer. That does not happen. 4 children get adopted by one family? No.
Yeah.
That's not how it normally goes. God orchestrated it in such a way that even though my choices were actively trying to destroy my life, even in that, and that wasn't something God did or anybody else. I made those choices.
Yeah.
I chose. And he still was faithful in things I didn't even know I needed him to be.
I love that. And it's, you mentioned how you've learned, that the system is broken, right? But it's beautiful to see how God arranged this and put them with the right family that would take care of them and love them, and even in some ways love you in the midst of that. And also, it's beautiful to know that while the system might be broken, it's not like those parents were manipulating the system to get the kids, because sometimes we hear those kind of horror stories. And so I think, where we can see God's provision in this story is just so abundantly clear that there was no malice on their part to, do this terrible thing. And that is a blessing also.
Yes, ma'am. And even now, because they were never able to have children together. Not together. They got divorced. He got remarried. She got remarried. Both of them ended up pregnant.
No way.
Within 2 months of each other.
Interesting. Wow.
I was like, well,
Isn't that interesting?
Kobe is such a good big brother. She has sent me pictures of him with her youngest, and he has got that baby on the couch, and she's painting his toenails, his fingernails, letting her do his hair, or riding piggyback in the pool. Like, he just is all over it. Every time you see a picture of all the kids, that she's with her big brother. Yeah. So it does me some good knowing that God put them with exactly who they needed to be with, because we weren't able to do those things at that time. I mean, even though I wanted to, because I desperately wanted to, I was not able. I just wasn't able. My mind was so messed up. And of course, when you add chemicals on top of that, it just fuels the confusion. I can see very clearly that even though because I'm not saying that I woke up one day and it was like, oh, magically I don't miss my kids anymore. Right. No, I miss them every single day, but I don't live in the state of constant just anguish anymore. God, one of the only times I can ever remember audibly hearing the voice of God, and he told me, they're coming back. They're coming back.
I love that.
I don't know how or what that even looks like. But God does not make a promise that he breaks.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I know one day, and they've already started slowly coming back. Because they asked. She didn't push. I didn't ask. Like, I had already put it out there. Hey, if ever, whenever, does not matter.
The answer is yes.
Yes. Yes, I'm willing. Yes, I'm able. Whatever it takes, we will make it happen if they want to talk to me and or get to know me again. So, one day, maybe we can do that interview.
I love that. I love that.
Because I know my God is faithful.
Mhm.
And sometimes we can get so in a rush, like, hey, do you remember what you said? He doesn't forget. He does not forget. Sometimes we can get ahead of ourselves. And I have learned that the more I try to fix, manage, and control, have my fingers on, I usually end up messing it up.
Yeah.
Way worse.
We're not so good at massaging things. Our manipulation all too often goes away. But also,
Yes.
oh my goodness, like sometimes
Mm.
I just look up and I'm like, Lord, I'm not Abraham. I just want to remind you.
Mm.
Like, I know that he was a man of faith and he stuck with it till he was 100 years old, but I don't have it in me.
No.
I just want to remind you I'm not Abraham.
Sometimes I will do almost the exact same thing when I'm like, okay. Like, and there are some days when I'm like, you know what? I need to be on my knees. There's just some days when I'm like, on my knees. And those are the moments when I'm like, all right, God, I know you didn't forget. I am telling you what you told me. I'm giving you the promise you gave me. And I'm just saying, I didn't forget.
I love it.
I believe, just like I did then, that what you said you're going to do,
he always
I'm just reminding you. Like that little snotty, like, hey,
right?
Don't forget me.
He always does, doesn't he?
He does.
Always keeps his word. Mm-hmm. And that is so beautiful. So beautiful. So beautiful. So beautiful. So the last thing I want to ask you is what advice you would have for our viewers who might be in this struggle, whether it be specifically with drugs and alcohol or some other kind of addiction that they feel like God's given me chance after chance and all I do is screw it up and screw it up. What is your advice to them in this moment?
Oh, okay. So I think that my advice to all of the people who can hear my voice right now is that you are never too far gone. Never. Don't believe the enemy. He's a liar. That's his job. But also, don't be too proud to grab the hands that God has put around you, because I was. And if we don't learn the lesson, he'll keep giving it back to us. Trust God with the people that he's put around you. You're not alone. You're not the only one that's struggling or has struggled with this. And I think the more we keep it inside of us, the greater its power. If we get out of us, whatever it is, it loses all the power that it has. And as soon as you do that, you'll realize you're not alone. And you're certainly not as alone as the enemy would have you to believe. That's what I would tell them. Because I believed that for a long time. And it had me stuck. I didn't have people. I didn't have prayer. I didn't have community. All of those things are what has helped me to continue to grow.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say that you've mentioned several times within this interview how thankful you are for the women that God has placed in your life. But, that goes full circle because there is no one I know who is as good as you are at building other women up and reminding them of the positive things within themselves. And so as I think about, where you were talking about how your dad couldn't offer what he didn't have and how there was time that you described where you could not offer what you did not have because both of you had blocked off accepting that from God. I can see the fruit in your life of where you have accepted the love now that God has to give you. And I can see that because I see you giving it out to other people on a consistent basis. And, I know that I am truly blessed to have you as my friend.
Me too, friend. Me too.
Well, I say, let's go ahead and pray real quick as we end this out. Lord, thank you so much for this opportunity to sit and talk with Alisha. Thank you for the person on the other side of this video screen that is watching this. Lord, I just ask you to bless them. If they need help about anything that we have talked about, just help them to reach out, help them to either find the resources that they need or to reach out in the comments, and we will help with doing everything we can to help them find resources. Whatever avenue you would have it be, Lord, I just ask you to provide aid however you choose. Because, Lord, you know that we were not designed to walk this life on our own. You gave us other people to be in our lives. I ask you to show your love to each and every person. And Lord, I even want to ask for those people who may be sitting on the other side of the screen thinking, man, I don't have a testimony like that. My life is boring. I have nothing to offer this world. I ask that you reveal to them the truth, Lord.
Yes, God.
That we don't have to have walked through something incredibly difficult to be used by you. Every single one of us has a story to tell where you have reached in and touched our life in some way. Please make it clear to every person who is listening what exactly you've done for them, so that they can take this and give your message to the world around them. I pray all of this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you for being here today. If God has met you, healed you, carried you, or changed you, don't keep it hidden. Your testimony is a light, and someone out there needs the glow of your story. Share what He's done. Shine the light He's given you. And until we meet again, may you walk in His mercy and live blessed beyond measure.